Hi guys, and welcome back to another bookish video. In this video I'm going to be sharing with you all of the books that I read in August, what's on my September TBR, and we're going to be updating my book journal as well. So grab yourself a hot drink and let's dive in. So I read 4 books in the month of August, which is actually a pretty standard amount for me. I work a full-time 9-to-5 job. I've been putting in a lot of time trying to make a video for you guys every week. I've also obviously got a house to keep up with, I've got dogs, I've got a boyfriend. There's just a lot of stuff that takes up time, so I usually only get a chance to read 3 to 4 books a month. And I say only, I feel like that's still a pretty big amount of books to be reading, and I like to read them. I like to take my time, get in a cozy reading corner, get a blanket, get a hot drink, get some snacks, put an ambiance playlist on. I'll annotate as I go. Like, I really like to properly get stuck into them. And then if it's a really good book, I have to just sit with it for a minute when I finished before I start the next book. I feel like they deserve a moment of our attention. I need that time to just sort of absorb what's happened, think about it, let it sink in. Like, I need a few days at least before I can start the next book. However, what is unusual this month is that everything I read was a reread. In July, I finished everything that I had on my physical summer TBR pile. And it kind of put me in a bit of a weird reading slump of not knowing what to read next. Obviously, I considered just buying some more summer books, but then I looked at my autumn wish list at TBR and realised it was pretty mega. So I decided to just get a head start buying autumn books in July. So after a bit of thinking, I realised there were several books that I've been wanting to reread that I've just not had a chance to because there's so many new books that I want to read as well. And then I remembered that one of the books or book series that I wanted to reread was the Sookie Stackhouse novels, or the True Blood novels, as they're probably more well known, which I actually think for me ended up being the perfect bridge between summer and autumn, when you're kind of feeling ready to like dip your toe into autumn, but it's still officially the summer months and you don't want to rush the season too much. So it's set in Louisiana in America. So the weather is really hot and sunny, but obviously there's vampires in it. So a lot of it takes place at night time and it has this sort of like darker underbelly to it, but not in a super serious way. For context, I read this series for the first time when I was about 14 years old, I think, and I absolutely devoured it. The books weren't newly released when I read them for the first time. I think they're about 5 or 6 years old. But the TV series had just come out, so it was sort of freshly popular. I think there's 13 books in the series in total, and I have reread them all more times than I can count. These are the original books that I got when I was 14, and I don't know if you can see, but they are pretty well loved. I can't actually remember the last time that I read them prior to this month, but it has been years and years. I think it's really hard to love a book as much as you did when you were 14, but I have to say I still thoroughly enjoyed this book. I think it helps that Sookie, the main character, is 25 at the time of this first book. So she's a slightly more mature character, and that makes it much easier to sort of carry on reading into your adult years. Actually, one of the reasons I was craving a reread of this series was because I missed Sookie. By the time you read a 13-book series, the main character will sort of start to feel like one of your best friends. And I think Sookie is just a pretty lovable character in general. And I have to say, I think True Blood is one of the only things where I like the TV series almost as much as I like the book series. I try to think of them as separate things because the first 3 series follow the first 3 books pretty much exactly, and then the plots just completely split off and go in their own totally different directions, which I think is because the books are set in first person, so we only get things from Sookie's perspective, and obviously we only see the characters when they interact with her, and you don't always get a lot of context about what they're doing away from her. And for the TV series, they had to flesh out all of the other characters a lot more, give them more concrete backstories and lives, and you see them when they're not with her. And then I think the fleshing out of the characters had an effect on the plot and drove it in a different direction. But surprisingly, I was not mad at it. I really enjoyed the way they did it. The only thing is that book Suki is way cooler than TV Suki. I think in the TV series they did that thing where they tried to keep the main character as innocent and naive as they could for as long as they could. Whereas in the books, Suki does start off pretty naive, but she is also quite savvy, and she really quickly gets to grips with the vampire world, and she gets really good at navigating it on her own, and it's really fun to watch her grow as a character throughout the series. So anyway, in August I reread the first 2 books from the series, which are Dead Until Dark and Living Dead in Dallas, and I thoroughly enjoyed them both. The only hard part is that Bill is the love interest in these early books, and if you read the full series, you come to hate Bill. So as you reread these early books and she's falling in love with Bill, you're just like internally screaming, "Don't do it, don't do it." But with that being said, I put these 2 books through the CAWPILE rating system from the Book Roast channel, and they both got 4 stars for me. So I just had a great time with them, very, very much enjoyed. The other 2 books that I read this month are actually children's books, and they are the first 2 books in the Spiderwick Chronicles. These are also books that I read as a child and absolutely loved. And I was not planning on reading them this month. If I were to classify these as a season, they would be spring books for me, so they weren't on my radar for something to pick up this month. However, I had a few days where I just really wasn't feeling very well and I wanted to read something to distract myself, but I also wanted it to be super low stakes and really feel good. And honestly, what better to read for that than a children's book? And I remembered exactly why I used to love these books. I mean, first of all, the editions are just absolutely beautiful. They are filled with the most gorgeous illustrations. And I think it was probably my very first introduction into something ever so slightly gothic. And obviously it only took me a couple of hours to read them, but I still had a great time. Now, I didn't rate these books because children's books are the only ones that I don't put through the rating system, just because I don't feel like it's fair to compare them to grown-up books. So their status is just beloved children's books. Okay, so now it is time to update the reading journal with my August reads. Okay, next we can talk about my September TBR, which is the start of my autumn reads, and I am so beyond excited. So I split up all of my autumn wishlist reads into 3 categories. So we have dark academia for September, spooky books in October, and gothic reads in November. So I have 4 dark academia books on my TBR for September, and they are The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I feel like this is one of the foundational books of dark academia, one of the books that really defines the genre. And I just can't believe I haven't read it yet, so I am just beyond excited for this one. It's set on a college campus in New England, so that's just already perfect for this time of year. And as is typical of the genre of dark academia, it explores themes of morality, of obsession, of academic passion, and yeah, I'm just really, really excited for this. Next, I have A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. I think this is another book that is quite genre defining and really well loved, and again, just can't believe that I have not read it yet. It's set in Oxford, the main character is a historian, I think. It's got witches and vampires, and it just sounds like it's got everything you could want in a book for this time of year. Next is one that I've been meaning to get round to for years, and that is A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. This was a book that I was just sold on as soon as I heard the title. It's also a dark academia with fantasy elements. It's set in a decrepit old manor, and I think it's just going to be full of all of the gothic vibes that I just really, really love. And finally, on my list, we have An Education in Malice by S.T. Gibson. It's another one that I was just really intrigued by from the title, and I thought it would be a good addition to my dark academia TBR. So it's set on a college campus, there's academic rivalry, obsessions, and it sounds like it's got all of the gothic and dark academia hallmarks. However, I took a peek inside the cover and realised that there's a relatively long list of trigger warnings. I will let you look them up for yourselves if you want to. So I don't know if it's going to be a little bit too dark for me. I have never read a book that's come with trigger warnings before, but I'm going to tentatively give it a go, and I will report back when we do my September reading wrap up. I think I'm just going to have to be mindful and probably read it in the first 2 weeks of my cycle when I'm feeling the least sensitive. So yeah, wish me luck. So, as well as those 4 dark academia books, I would also love to do a reread of the Twilight series this autumn. If I've got time, that is. Autumn is my absolute favourite season for media, and there is always just the longest list of books, TV shows, movies, podcasts, music, so much good stuff that I want to consume at this time of year. But it's also just my favourite season, so I want to spend as much time as I can out in it, enjoying it, and it's always a little bit overwhelming, but in the best way possible. Fun fact, I actually started a Twilight reread last November, and I was filming a sort of deep dive video on it, and then I got halfway through the book and it started to snow, and within a day we went from crisp golden autumn days to just full-on snowy winter. So I abandoned the video and just switched into winter videos instead. But I was really enjoying making it, so I think I might try and revive that and finish that video for you guys this year. So now it is time to add my autumn spreads and my September TBR into my reading journal so that it's all ready for the season ahead.
I was on fire, our house, our dreams. We were dancing on a wire, reckless it seemed. We found holes in these walls, We like what we saw. Seems so strong until it falls. The final straw. Oh, I never felt like this before. When I was trapped, you showed an open door. Living in a dark, clouded haze. We danced, we fought. We were bound to make mistakes. Real love, we thought. But it was always on fire. Our house, our dreams. We were dancing on a wire. Reckless, it seemed. I never felt like this before. When I was trapped, you showed an open door. I had no reason to complain. I didn't have the words to explain. I never felt like this before. When I was trapped, you showed an open door. I had no reason to complain. I didn't have the words to explain. Then we were dancing on a wire. Yeah, we were dancing on a wire.
Thank you so much for spending some bookish time with me this week. I hope you are just as excited as I am for this season of autumnal reading that's coming up. I'd love to know what you guys are reading this month or just in autumn in general, so come and chat books to me in the comments and let me know if you've got any books that you think that I'd really like to read. Please let me know. I'm on the lookout for new books to add to my TBR. So please like and subscribe if you did enjoy the video, and I will see you next week when we are officially beginning the autumn season. Bye.